All right, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you basically how to attract high-end clients. So this is attracting 80K remodeling clients. So basically the 80K kitchen remodels versus a 15K kitchen remodel, right? So the thing is, in the remodeling space, right, I'm sure you're getting a lot of leads coming in that are saying, okay, yeah, our maximum budget is like 10K, 20K for like a kitchen remodel. But then the problem is the psychology that attracts a $15,000 client is completely different from what attracts a 80K client, right? So today I'm going to show you how we are flipping the script for our clients, right, to get high-end remodels, right? So we're going to basically go through the ads, the landing page, the positioning, and then most importantly, the belief shifts that you need to make this work. All right, so let's get into it. So this is the thing that like a lot of people don't want to say out loud, right? A lot of contractors are actually competing like in the race to the bottom, right? So when the kind of leads you're attracting actually decides the kind of jobs that you will get, right? So for example, you are attracting the wrong clients, right? So the easiest way to attract a 15K client is basically your your messaging, right? So when you position yourself like things like, oh yeah, the affordable option. I mean, it's literally, I know a company in my city that the name of the company is Affordable Basements, right? I mean, again, what kind of clients do you think you're going to be getting if you're positioning yourself as the affordable option or best value, right? I know a couple, and also know a couple of clients that are actually positioning themselves as a finance for. I mean, their ads are going financing first, right? So they say, you know what, 0% down, and then we'll give you financing for the rest, right? Think about it, right? So you're literally telling the market like I'm here for people who don't have money, right? And guess what? People that don't have money, they don't have money. They'll negotiate, they'll delay, they'll complain about every little thing, right? But the thing is, the same effort actually goes into converting the 80K client, right? What's difference? The difference is the positioning, right? Is the psychological triggers that you're pulling, like the belief system that you're activating in your prospect's mind, right? So the idea is, what are the triggers and what are these psychological triggers, right? So we need to figure out what they are. And I know what they are, right? The first one is status, right? Then there's also exclusivity. You want to feel special. Again, this like isn't about manipulation. It's basically about understanding human psychology. Like think about it. Like why does someone pay, I don't know, $200,000 for a Rolls Royce when a $40,000 Hyundai will probably get you from the same point A to point B, right? It's the same thing. It's status. It's exclusivity, right? It's scarcity as well, right? If it's widely available for everybody, then they don't really want it, right? So this is how we kind of apply it to kitchen remodels. So what we do is we do um, four different things, right? So what we're able to do is we start with like in an immediate pattern interrupt, right? Starting from the ad, right? So the first step is the pattern interrupt, right? So the ad that we're running says the quickest way to ruin a $2 million home is to put a builder basic kitchen in the middle of it, right? That's the hook, right? Most people are going out with the hook that says, okay, yeah, you know what, beautiful kitchens, great prices, call now. That's boring because when an ad doesn't cut through the noise, then you're gonna get so like crazy expensive leads and then actually really bad leads as well too. But the ad that we're running that says, okay, you know what, you own a $2 million home, but you have like a builder basic kitchen in there, like a builder grade kitchen, and this kitchen is ruining your home, right? So basically, that person that has the home is like kind of thinking, it's like this cognitive dissonance, right? Where they say, you know what, oh, my kitchen doesn't match my home. So at this point, you're not selling a kitchen remodel, right? You're selling a status threat. So basically, a threat to their status. You're identifying something that doesn't really match where they want to be, right? So yeah, in the end, the good thing about it is someone that's living in a $500,000 home is not going to respond to this. I mean, they might respond, but then they are like few and far between. But the person that owns a $2 million home is nodding and thinking, you know what, this is finally someone that gets it, right? So you're speaking directly to their identity. And then the best part about this is also because we are amplifying the problem, right? So if you're amplifying a problem, you're not just thinking about this is going to be a kitchen renovation, right? You're saying your kitchen is actually ruining your home's value. That's the pain behind this. That's the urgency behind why they would want. That's actually what they're thinking in their head, right? And again, high net worth individuals, if they don't tolerate things that diminish their status, right? So they don't want anything that's going to, look bad in their home, right? So if we speak to these pains, speak to these issues that they're having, then you get that pattern interrupt, and then you're kind of making them raise their hand and they say, you know what, this is person that actually gets me, and then they want to speak to you, right? Okay, so that was the first part. So that was the first step, right? And that goes into the ad. Then the second one is the landing page, right? So I will actually show you the landing page that we're actually working with. It's probably easier to actually, so you can actually see. So it starts here, right? So you can see the headline that says transform your kitchen into the showpiece your $1 million home deserves, right? And then we have like a picture of like an amazing kitchen in there. And then we call it a package, right? Our signature status kitchen package transforms your builder basic into neighborhood showstopper, right? And then here we have like we only accept 12 projects per year. Current availability is 2 remaining spots for the end of the year. Once it's filled, then the next available spot is going to be in 2026. And then here we have the button that says apply for my signature kitchen. I'm going to show you again why this is so great. So then they actually have to like fill in an application before putting in their name, email, and phone number, right? That's what we are doing. So imagine this. Someone sees that page and they click the ad, or actually on the flip side, right? If you have that ad and then you're sending them to a generic schedule a free consultation page, the thing is, high-end clients don't want free consultations. They want to feel like they are being selected, right? This goes back to the status or the exclusivity that I was talking about here, right? So in the end, so if you have that um, image of a kitchen that is like jaw-dropping, that's actually what they want. It's showing them their future identity. When they see that kitchen, they should think, that's the person I want to be. Then if you remember the headline, I said, okay, no, transform your kitchen into something that matches your home value, right? So we're not saying like get a new kitchen. We're saying your home deserves better, and so do you. So we're aligning the kitchen with their identity and their status, right? And then the biggest part about the one that what actually makes it work is the scarcity play that we have in there. So if you remember, we said, okay, you know what? We only take on 12 projects per year, and we have 2 spots remaining before the end of the year. So basically, how that works, and the reason why that works, right, is when you say you only do 12 projects a year, what does that communicate, right? It communicates that we are not desperate, right? It communicates that we are selective, right? And then also communicates that we are in demand, right? And what does that make the prospect think, right? If they are selective, then they must be really good at what they do, right? We are not trying to fight for everybody's work or everybody's job. We are actually trying to become the one that works on, this quality jobs, right? So all these three actually is basically what we deem the quality signals, right? Then what that also triggers is the loss aversion, right? So basically what we call loss aversion. Like people, human beings will do, maybe okay, not anything. They will do a lot to actually get what they can't have, right? So we are fired. We are like kind of wired to fear loss more than desire gain. It's crazy, right? So basically, when we're saying things like, okay, we have only two spots left, right? And then you're not only creating urgency in this way, like you're kind of making them afraid. There's that FOMO, right? If I miss out on this, this opportunity, then I won't be able to get my kitchen done, right? Especially with these people. And then the other part that we are actually working with is we are switching that from a cost to an investment, right? So when something is like, scarce and exclusive, people assume it's expensive, right? If you're having someone to apply for a signature kitchen, we're not gonna have someone that thinks, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get a signature kitchen for like 5K. No. And when they see that it's scarce and it's expensive, they actually make them want it more. It's crazy. It's crazy how humans think, right? But then if we understand human psychology, we can basically put it to our advantage, and that's the case, right? So then also then the last element that actually makes this also work is the application button, right? So this is where we say, okay, you know what? We are not begging to work with you, right? I'm not begging to say, okay, I want to take your job. We are actually evaluating. It's an evaluation to see, okay, you know what, if we're a good fit, right? And for people that have the money to spend, it kind of flips the script entirely, right? So we actually want to make them to prove that they deserve to work with us, right? Basically, prove themselves, and that's how we implement all this on just that one page, right? So this is like it's amazing that you have all these psychological triggers going like happening on just one page, all just by the messaging, right? And this has to be true, right? If you're going to put out that information, then you need to only work on 12 signature projects a year, not okay. You know what? I'm going to take on 30. No, because we all need to be like ethical in our messaging as well too, right? So again, when I'm saying things, I'm sure you're probably saying, okay, you know what? Aren't we making this too hard? Like, aren't we going to be losing leads, right? The problem is like most contractors are actually obsessed with volume. We want like as many leads as possible. But then the problem with that approach is like more leads doesn't actually equal more revenue, especially if they are the wrong kind of leads, right? You know what? You know actually what's expensive? If you're spending time calling people that are not going to pick up the phone, or spending time talking to people on sales calls who cannot afford your services, right? Or doing proposals for projects that are never going to close. That's more expensive. It's better you spend the money up front to get better leads than to spend the money on the back end. Find out you're just running around the the place trying to get a volume of leads, right? And then basically at this point, putting in this friction is filtering, right? By making someone read the ad, click through to the landing page, look at the high end imagery that we have, read about the scarcity, and then apply, not just book a free consultation, right? You're kind of ensuring that only serious people, only qualified people are actually making it through this funnel, right? And that's the beautiful part. The harder you make it, the more they actually want it. Because, psychologically, people assume that, what, if it's hard to get, it must be worth having, right? So this is how we are flipping the script, right? We've started running this funnel for like weeks now, and then it's been crushing. It's been crushing. All right. So one thing I also want to show or explain is like how we're going to be shifting beliefs, right? We need to shift beliefs also, so just so that the people that we're getting through this funnel are actually high quality people, right? So the first one that we're going to shift, right, is basically shifting that from a cost to an investment, right? So the old belief is like people think, okay, you know what, a kitchen remodel is an expense I need to minimize. But then no, if we shift that from that being a cost to an investment in my home's value, right? So how do we shift this? Right? We frame the kitchen as an investment. We literally show what the ROI is, right? The return on investment in having a kitchen that is amazing, right? We're not selling a renovation. We are kind of aligning their identity and status. So it's not just about monetary return on investment. It's also like a psychological return on investment, because when you align the kitchen that they have with their identity and status, when they are, hosting people in, and people are like, oh wow, who did your kitchen? Who's your contractor? Then they think about, okay, you know what? I spent 80K on this kitchen. It was worth it, right? The other one thing that we have to shift, right? The other belief that we have to shift is the from availability to exclusivity, right? Because if they're thinking, okay, you know what, I can just hire any contractor, right? I can just get anybody. I'll get five people in the door, and then they will all, bid to win my job, right? It's we don't want to be on that level, right? Like, the way people go to back.com, and then they get a phone number from like a homeowner that's speaking to five people. No, that's not where you want to be. You want to be where only the select few, right? So we are flipping the script from availability to exclusivity, right? Only a select few contractors are qualified to work on homes like mine. If I'm telling them you have a $2 million home, you don't want to hire Mr. Joe Schmo down the road who's going to mess it all up, right? So by creating scarcity, if you in the application process, we are getting them to not just book, but you're getting them to apply. You're basically feeding into the exclusivity, right? We don't need you, but if you qualify, we might work with you, right? Because we're only doing 12 of this, right? We have how many people applying for this, and if you only do 12 of this, it's a matter of we are choosing. I mean, I'm finding out if we're a good fit, you're finding out if we're a good fit. And that kind of flips the script from, contractor, homeowner to, an exclusive partner that we're actually working with, right? The third one that we also need to shift is the idea of price shopping, right? And flip that to value recognition. So recognizing value, right? So people say, okay, you know what? Oh, I should get quotes from 10 contractors and pick the cheapest. But no, we are flipping the script to say, you know what? Quality and exclusivity are worth paying for. So, like, how do we shift this? Because we're not mentioning the price on the page. You're not saying the price. We're actually calling it in different name. Signature kitchen, right? Price is a conversation that you have after they've already decided that, like, they want you. So we actually let them decide how they want to work with us, and then they're asking, okay, how much does it cost? They're asking, okay, yeah, when can we get started? We're not leading with price. We're not leading with 0% down. That's like crazy. 0% down, and then you have a finance of like, oh, I don't know. I see one contract saying, okay, you know what, $350 per month for your kitchen, right? That's like ridiculous. Flip the script, please, immediately. If you're doing that, you need to stop it right now, right? Um, so those are the three shifts, like belief shifts that we're going to flip to make them understand that, you know what, this is the person that we want to work with. All right. So if you're watching this and then you're thinking, you know what, how do I apply this to my business? So here's what you need to do, right? The first step is to identify your high-end market. So you need to identify the areas, the neighborhoods, that have like that, the really cool, the really $2 million, $3 million homes, right? Identify who they are, what kind of people live in there. And then the great thing about it is, in this day and age of AI, we're able to actually do huge research, deep research into multiple neighborhoods, find out who's living there, how much their homes are worth, what are their psychological triggers that we can work on, right? Think about it, in your industry, who is it for high kitchen remodels, right? Then the second step is to craft your pattern interrupt, right? So we had that pattern interrupt where, you know what, you're running your $2 million home with a builder basic kitchen, right? or the quickest way to run a $2 million home is to put a builder basic kitchen in the middle of it, right? So that's what we are working with. But then we can get lots and lots of this. Like there's again, with how we do it is we have like 30, 20 hooks that we can go, and then we create that using AI, and then we run 20 ads and then see which one actually flies, right? Then step three is to engineer scarcity, right? If How do you do it legitimately, right? It's actually very, very easy in this case, right? Because you basically just limit project scarcity. I mean, there's only so many projects that you can do every month or every year, right? So if we say, okay, you know what, we limit our signature kitchen to 12 per year, right? That's one a month. Or we say, okay, you know what, we can only do, maybe you have a concrete job, or you have something that you can only do seasonally, right? And then we also, you have that by, creating an application. This is actually one of the most powerful triggers here, right? So create an application-based qualification. And then what's most important, make it real, make it true, make it like you actually have to limit this. The best part about it is to make it scarce, right? If it's scarce, then you know you're doing really well, right? And then the fourth part is to actually put in some friction, right? And this is on purpose, right? We don't make it easy. We make people like read or watch a 2 minute video, right? They go to the application page, they see how many we do every year, right? So we have like the limit, and then we get them to actually apply for their work to work with us, right? And then they're going through multiple qualification steps. The harder it is, believe me, the more they will actually value it. Anyone that just puts in their name, email, and phone number in a form, these are the people that when you call them, they don't pick up the phone, right? We don't want that. We want people that are actually invested in the process, right? And then the last bit is to shift beliefs, right? You're shifting beliefs. We're not selling features. So yes, flipping them from what I said. So basically, we have the beliefs that we're shifting from quality, cost to investment, availability to exclusivity, price shopping to value recognition. When you do that, you don't really have to convince them to buy. They are actually convincing themselves, right? I mean, it's really crazy because I was going to tell you like a couple of questions, show you a couple of examples in other markets of people that have actually done this properly, right? So there's a um, let me see. I think it's here, right? Yeah, exactly, it's here. So let's look at this Jose Villa, right? It's a wedding photographer. He just did a wedding like that. I think he charged probably $300,000 for $300,000 for wedding photography, right? How do you get into the high end markets where you're charging that? Because if you look at his Instagram page, I mean, I think there was a place where he said, you know what, my rates start from $50,000, right? And that's him already creating that exclusivity, creating that scarcity. Like, you know what, if you don't have 50K to spend, please don't even give me a call for wedding photography, right? There's this company called The Fifth, right? They were not even a luxury company. They were making watches, right? They had like $1 million day where they sold $1 million worth of watches in a single day. And how did they do it? Just by limiting it, right? So remember when I said we are only offering 12 projects per year. So this company will make 100 pieces, and those 100 sell out. And that's it. So for this month, every day on the 5th of the month, they launch 100 pieces. So they actually have the numbers on the watches, right? So I know if I buy a watch and I see number 54, I know I was the 54th person to buy, right? So just because it was limited, just because there was that scarcity, they were doing crazy amounts, like 100K on day one of the business, and sold that on all of their products, right? I actually followed the launch and then saw how they were actually able to do this, implement that, right? So scarcity, exclusivity, trust me, it works in other industries. It works in the remodeling industry. This is how we are flipping the script, working with our clients to make sure that we get high-end kitchen remodels, high-end full home renovations, and not having to deal with, I don't know, clients that wanted to to spend 10K, 5K on their project. No, we flip the script. All right. So if you'd like to work with us, if you'd like to find out how you can, join us and become a client, right? Feel free to book a call. We have a link in the description below, and then we'll be looking forward to talking to you. All right. It's going to be an application. You see, I'm doing the same thing as well too. So you're going to have to apply before we can actually talk, and then book a call, and then have a chat before we see whether we can work together. So I'm, what do you call it? Eating my own dog food. Love this, love this. All right. So looking forward to talking to you, and yeah, that's the end of this, and then we'll see you in the next video.